Good morning. Today we are going to see software testing, Unit 2 and Session 2. In the previous topic, we have studied all about black box testing, and as I told you, there are various methods to conduct the black box testing. So in today's topic, we are going to see the first method, requirement based testing. So let us understand what is this requirement based testing. So requirement based testing, testing has to be done from the beginning phase of the project only. So the testers has to be involved from the beginning only. So whatever the requirements have been gathered, so testers need to test whether those requirements are correct or no, according to client expectation or no, and what type of requirement it is, what priority that requirement has, and during which phase of testing you are going to test that particular requirement, and what are the conditions to meet that requirements. So these all has to be tested, and the testers has to design the test cases based on the each requirement, and whenever that phase of testing comes, that time according to that test cases they are going to test it. So requirement based testing deals with validating the requirements given in the SRS of the software system. So software requirement specification is a document where all requirements have been gathered, and checking the requirements whether they are correct, complete and testable. So as I told you, so from those requirements, the requirements which are correct, complete and testable, that will be tested here, and based on that design a set of test cases. So based on each requirement, test cases will be designed. Explicit requirement and implicit requirement. As I told you, there are two types of requirements, explicit requirement and implicit requirements. Explicit requirements are documented and which we can find out in SRS, whereas implicit requirement we don't find in the SRS. But even though that requirements are very important, so these two types of requirements have to be tested. Explicit requirements are documented and implicit requirements are not documented. Another definition of requirement based testing is a testing approach in which test cases, conditions and data are derived from requirement. So from each requirement you are going to design the test cases to meet that requirement, what conditions you need and what input you need to supply. Data means what input you need to supply for satisfying that requirement. So this type of testing includes both functional test and also non-functional test. So for requirement based testing, you need to form requirements traceability matrix. So whatever the requirements are there, what test conditions you are designed, and what type of requirement it is, in which type of testing you are going to test is, this all information you should get, and for that these all things you are going to track in a form of requirement traceability matrix. So this is how the requirement traceability matrix looks like. So first column you need is requirement ID, what type of every requirement. To identify every requirement you need to give the ID for that, unique ID. Then description about the requirement, what type of description requirement it is, and then priority, then whether that requirement has higher priority, medium priority or low priority, how much important is that requirement, that you need to understand. Test conditions, so to meet that requirement what conditions you need, based on what conditions that requirement will get executed. Then for that requirement, which test case ID you have designed, that you need to specify, and phase of testing, in which type of testing you are going to test it. So this is an example of lock and key which we have seen in the previous topic. So taking that example, we are explaining this requirement traceability matrix. So this is the first requirement. So what is the first requirement? Inserting the key number from 1 to 3 to 4, 5, 6 and turning it clockwise should facilitate locking. Yes, this is the first requirement. There is a lock and you can use the key number, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Any key can uh, inserted in that lock, and if you insert any key from this number 1 2 3 4 5 6, and when you turn it clockwise it should lock. So if you use key number 1 2 3 4 5 6 and when you turn it clockwise the clock should be locked. And it is a how much important you have for this requirement? High priority. So this is very important requirement. So what is the condition here? You need to use this key, then only you can meet that requirement, otherwise no. Then test case ID you are given is lock 1, and in which type of testing you are going to conduct it? Unit testing and component testing. Next requirement is inserting the key number from 1 2 3 4 5 6 and turning it anti-clockwise should facilitate unlocking. Now the same set of keys you are going to use, and now this time you are going to turn it anti-clockwise. If you turn it anti-clockwise, the lock should unlock. So which type of priority you have here? High priority. Yes, even this requirement is very high. You need to use the same set of keys, that is the condition, and the test case ID given is lock 2, and even this will be tested in the phase of unit and component testing. And see whether the requirement is higher priority, medium priority or low priority. You need to implement that in the system. But first, which requirement is important, higher priority, first try to implement that in the system. Next requirement is only key number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 can be used to lock and unlock. Yes, only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 key number should be used to lock and unlock. If you try to use any other key, then it should not facilitate to lock as well as unlock. So even this requirement has higher priority. So what is the condition? Use key 1 2 3 2 4 5 6 to lock, and for unlock also same set of keys. Lock 3 is given the test case ID, and this is tested in the component testing. So another requirement 4, no other object can be used to lock. So this is also one requirement. If any other user try to use, instead of keys, to use any other object, okay, then it should be not used. Then it has medium priority. Okay, conditions like if the user uses any other key like 7, 8, 9 or any other one, or if the user uses hairpin or the screwdriver. So in these objects, the lock should be not locked as well as not unlocked, both. Okay, now this can be used to lock. Okay, specifically for locking, if they try to use these all objects, should be not locked. The test case ID given is 5, 6 and 7. And in which phase of testing you are going to use is integration testing. Next requirement, no other object can be used to unlock, and this is a medium, and same objects are used for unlocking, then it should not unlock as well as lock. These are the test case IDs given, and this is the phase where it will be tested. Requirement 6, the lock must not open even if it is hit with a heavy stone. Yes, even it has middle priority. So if the user tries to use any heavy object like hitting the lock and opening it, okay, like use stone to break, to lock, okay, should not lock it. This is the test case ID, and it is tested in system testing. Next requirement, the lock and key must be made of metal and must weigh approximately 150 grams. This is another condition, low priority. Okay, and use condition is weighting machine. So if you want to test this, you need to use weighting machine. Okay, so the client's condition is that the lock must be approximately 150 grams and it should be measured with weighting machine. That is the requirement given by the client. So based on the requirements given by the client, you are going to test it. Okay, so these are the various requirements given by the clients, and you have formed the requirement traceability matrix, and you have find out which requirements are high, medium and low priority, and under which conditions those will get executed. and should not get executed, and in which phase of testing should be tested. This is also one example of requirement traceability matrix. Like this is the software of creating the music. So create music library. So to create music library, what steps you need? You need to first click on create playlist. Then next process, user names playlist will display. Then under that you are going to create playlist name. You can also delete playlist name. You can also update playlist name. And the rules, playlist name cannot be longer than 24 characters. Okay. So these are the conditions, these are the requirements for each requirement. So the main requirement, create music library. Under that you have again sub requirements. So this is another, under create playlist, this is another requirement, user set sharing options for playlist. And under that you have change the privacy options of the playlist. Then the playlist can be fully public, partially public. Okay, these are all requirements. So you can see under playlist you have various requirements. See, these are the various user select songs to add to playlist, user select songs to add to playlist. Under that you have different requirements. User is owner of duplication. So under each requirement you can also have sub requirements. So you need to distinguish it, which requirement will come under which type of requirement. So this all you'll understand from the requirement traceability matrix, and this is very useful and needed to test each requirements. From this you'll understand whether all requirements have been tested or no. Okay, sample test execution data. So after testing you can also gather the execution data, like see requirement ID, whether it is tested or no, priority, test case. So whether it is tested or no, test case, total test cases were available in that test case 1, and after execution it has passed, test case pass. If the test case is failed, you are going to specify here. Okay, percentage of pass, 100% it has passed, and number of defects is 1. Okay, some more defects will be available there, warning messages and all. So this is requirement 2, and this is the test execution data. So this is requirement 3. So under requirement 3 you have 2 test cases, 3 and 4, and both have passed. Total test cases is 2, both have passed here. Not both have passed, one test case is pass and one test case is failure. So only 50% of that requirement is tested, and number of defects available there is 3. This is another requirement. How many test cases are there here? 5, 6 and 7. So total test cases available there 3. So out of 3, 2 test cases pass and 1 test case is failed. So total 67% of that requirement is tested, and still there are 5 defects available. So after testing the requirements under the unit testing or component testing or integration testing, so the data which you gather you are going to form in this way, in a table format, so that you will understand what is the result of this each requirement. This is another example, traceability matrix. For user requirement, this is the maintain customer information. Under that you can have sub requirements. See, add a customer, edit a customer, delete a customer. This is the main requirement. Under that you have add a customer, edit a customer, delete a customer. And for that requirement, see, test case for national customer, test case for international customer. And if you want to edit based on basic profile name, or if you want to edit based on any number, unique number. If you want to delete the customer based on unique number you are going to delete, or based on name you are going to delete, or any other thing. So these all you need to specify in the requirement traceability matrix. Okay, this is another example, login logout. So in a login logout, customer and manager are the 2 users who are going to log in and log out. Okay, customer can have inquiry, multiple bank accounts, fund transfer. So these 2 users have the authorities. Customer can have different authority, manager can have different authorities. So you need to specify what authorities the customer has, the manager has. Okay, this is all you can specify in the requirement traceability matrix. This is the example of test case which we have already seen in the previous topics. Test case, test steps, data, and what is your expected result and your actual output. So what is the importance of requirement traceability matrix? When there are a large number of requirements, it would not be possible for someone to manually keep a track of testing status of each requirement. As I told you, if you keep a track of traceability requirement matrix, you can able to find out which requirement are there under that main requirement, which are the sub requirements are there, and what test cases belongs to those requirements. Those test cases have been passed or failed, how many defects are available. This all data, this all information you can get it. Requirement traceability matrix enable tester to prioritize the test case execution to catch defects in the high priority. Yes, from this we'll also understand which requirements has high priority, medium priority, low priority, and what is the result of that after execution. Test conditions can be grouped to create test cases. Yes, you can under one requirement you can group those, like under requirement 1 you have test case 1, 2 and 3. Number of tests covered in high priority and number of test cases created for each requirement and total test cases prepared. This all information you will get, and total number of test cases passed, failed, defects, etc. and number of requirements completed and pending. So this is also very important. How many requirements you have tested and how many requirements still there are pending, and in which requirement still there are defects, on which requirement you need to work. This all information you will get from the requirement based testing or requirement traceability matrix. So this is going to be very helpful for the black box testers to test each requirements properly and to maintain all the data. So this is an example which you are going to do. So this is a site that aims of computerizing the loan system for XYZ bank. The following are the business targets to be achieved through. So they are given the loan process should be made automated. Loan process should be computerized. The loan system must cater to both new user and existing system. So whoever is applying for the loan, whether it is a new user or the existing user, okay, appropriate messages should be provided to them how to apply for the loan. That should be facilitated to them. The existing user should be able to access the loan information, and the banker should be notified of the changes or new loan request and can grant, reject, suggest changes to the request. So whoever is applying for the loan, the bank people should come to know that total how many people have applied, and total how many are existing users, total how many are new users, and for how many users you can grant the request, how many users you don't want to grant or want to reject, and what are the changes, whether those documents are correct or no, are there any mistakes. Okay, so what are the requirements for the loan process you're going to gather? Ease of use, all the information should be easy to access. The banker need to make administrative changes, they should be able to do through the web interface. So mostly the bank people should be given the authority to change any data, to delete any data, to update any data, or to add anything in that. The users of the system should be not, means customers of the banker should be not allowed to make the changes in the, they should be not allowed to delete any data or to update any data. Integration with the bank user list. So the loan customers and the other bank customers list has to be merged, but the identification of the loan customers should be unique. So these are the requirements which are given. Okay, according to this you are going to gather now the requirements, exactly what the client needs, and you are going to form the requirement traceability matrix. So in today's topic we have completed this requirement traceability matrix. Thank you.